Youth sports has certainly come a long way in sort of recognizing the university athlete. Why is today so important in broadcasting these students so that people pay attention?
Well, you know, for one thing, the connection with David Johnston, who was a great hockey player himself. I always love when there's that synergy. He was a defenseman. He was a two-time All-American at Harvard, a captain, set records for points, assists as a defenseman. So the players will appreciate that. I think that's really important, that it's one of their own. But more than that, he was Governor General. So he represented an office that's authority versus power. Prime Minister gets voted in, has power. But authority in hockey dressing room is, or sports, period, it's who is really the straw boss, who is really the leader of that team. And David Johnston was that. When the First Nations were doing their Idle No More movement, they asked to meet with him, not the Prime Minister, because he represents protection. So it's just a beautiful symbol to have a man like him, a family like him and Sharon and the 5 girls be the keeper of the cup. I think they'll all feel very honored. Whoever is that captain to host it at UNB this year will be hoisting a lot of history there and a really good message.
It's amazing, too, to hear all the speakers sort of cite back to their connections and roots with being a student athlete. Why should parents want their children, if they're possible, to compete in a student athlete sort of position?
Well, David Johnston's speech today was a little bit about in the academic world. He has evidence that those who were also in sport did better. You know, so there, I think we all kind of have come to a maybe not the deepest understanding, but a pretty clear understanding that mind and body go hand in hand. And so sport teaches so much. There is no race, religion, rank in a dressing room. It strips you of all of that, and it leaves you as cooperating. And even I feel like the power of two is very important. We all understand that 2 people working together, collaborating, is better than one. But with 2 people, there's right, wrong, black, white. You need that third to give it energy. The third person, now you have a team. That's when it really gets special. So I think university sport, when you go into that institution, you're kind of on your own. But when you go into that sport, now you become surrounded. Your eyes, like we're trying to do with women in media, all right? Just let's have a better viewpoint. Let's have instead of old white guys like me, right?
We love you, Ron,
yeah,
so it's okay.
That's what David Johnston, you can have some of me, but you need some of all of us, right? Diversity, inclusion, all these things are becoming such a great part of the world we're in today. And David Johnston, really was such a beacon at the right time. He came along, he got appointed in 2010. So I think it's great for university sport. I mean, we've all known, any of us I refereed it for years, and love to have exchanges with Mike Polino, or Marty Williamson's now coach of the Brock Badgers, and I could go on and on. You know, even the list of coaches that have coached in university in Canada that moved into the National Hockey League and made it better, starting with Claire Drake, then Dave King, George Kingston, Tom Watt, and into Mike Babcock of the world. You know, that was a real Doug MacLean. These are all folks who went the university route and then brought their wisdom to the National Hockey League. There's well over 20. It was great for us.
And looking at that, you told the story about Babcock. Talk about the actual quality of the play. Like I don't think people realize how good university hockey is.
No, we don't have a system in our country. The United States model is high school sport Friday, university sports Saturday, professional games Sunday. That's how the fans kind of treat the weekend. We don't have that, unfortunately, so it gets a little bit lost in the shuffle. We are busy with our children in minor sports, and we love our professional sport. It falls through the cracks, unfortunately, in terms of viewership. But the truth of the matter is these are men and women. These are folks who were great at sport all through their school years and now have gone beyond as 18-year-olds and decided to keep up and with it. So the play is off the charts. These are adults. These are people who know and understand their particular sport. So it's the best sport to watch. It's got the wisdom of experience coupled with the prime of your athletic life happening. You know, it's not junior where you're still going through all those things that happen to us when we're teenagers. It's a great thing to experience, and it's getting its due. It's just that, as I say, the template, you know, the tipping point for us would have to be a reversion to maybe that high school Friday, university Saturday, pro game Sunday. But we're our own country, so we'll have to let it be.
And I think if you could urge people to pay attention to university sports beyond the coverage sort of difficulties, how would you say people can be more involved?
Well, I think it's the best in us, right? Education ultimately is I've lived my whole career with that question, how shall wisdom be found? Or where shall wisdom be found? It's at university. It's in school. I mean, so it's really important to sort of make our universities, our education sector strong, and by supporting that, you're doing a good thing. But after that, you're getting a good thing. You're going out and watching. These incredible athletes. I remember when Mike Ridley, he was brought in by Ted Sater, was a coach that was with the New York Rangers, and he brought a kid out of university, Mike Ridley, just as a litmus test. He knew Mike Ridley. He didn't know the pro players. Mike Ridley made the team. The guy they brought in just to kind of get a read off of, or a frame of reference, he ended up being a really great player in the NHL. Steve Ruchin was the same thing out of University of Western Ontario, ended up leading the Anaheim Ducks in 2003 almost to the Stanley Cup, and he was the go-to guy. So they're there. The talent is absolutely there, and I just here in Toronto, Ryerson produces a lot of great journalists, but they've got a kid right now, Alex Basso, who just won Player of the Year, Defenseman of the Year in the West Division of the OUAA. He is Mike Giordano. He is Brian Rafalski. I'll be stunned if that kid isn't in the NHL.
There's a path.
It's a path. It's a great, and it's a way, because in the New World Order, teams, have to pay their top players in the NHL, let's say, maybe the top 6 get the money, and then it's really difficult to fill out the roster. So you never lose hope. No. You just because you're not drafted doesn't mean you can't make the National Hockey League. And this university in Canada, the hockey here is at such a level that it's absolutely the perfect training ground for that goal. And then on the national women's side, so many of the great players, obviously the Calgary Inferno, a lot of them, coupled that with the University of Calgary. So it's a great link.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Ron. I appreciate you speaking with me today.
Cheers.